Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I am back behind your flickering screen of movie nostalgia to dive into it. Welcome to Derry. Yes, the newest foray into the world of Stephen King's infamous town of Derry, Maine. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so Welcome to Derry. Now, I'm just going to tell you there's going to be some light spoilers in this. I'm not going to go heavy spoilers, but if you don't want to know anything from this episode or the books or the movies or anything like that, then this is not the video for you, because we got to set some of this up as we dive into what I just watched last night. So this is set in 1962, decades before the Losers Club that we found in Anthony Muschietti's remake, It Chapter 1. And the question here is, did this summon the chills? Did it float the fear? Or did it just sink into some CGI sludge? We're going to check it all out. The pilot kicks off with a wild cold open. A boy named Maddie disappears. We've got a family out on the road that is not what they seem. A demonic, weird birth scene. Pipes whispering, voices in the bathtub drain. The series is clearly trying to say right out of the gate, we're back in the town that made you float, and we are going to turn up the weird. So yes, right out of the gate, we're reminded that nothing in Derry is ordinary and that the cycle is starting again. So this first episode is about 53 minutes if you count the credits, and we're going to talk about what this first almost hour does well. The first thing it does is it reestablishes Derry as a character in and of itself, and that sets a decent foundation of horror. If you follow me, you know I love the creepy small town horror. It is one of my top 3 favorite horror films of all time. I love the idea that the evil just has permeated and the whole town is it in some way. I like it. We get back into that right out of the gate, so that is a big strength because the atmosphere hits. It's the dingy, small town, saturated but desaturated kind of 1960s look. You've got the ominous pipes under Derry, that feeling of childhood innocence about to be turned inside out. Literally, it all registers. It's all good. The cold open sets the mood and the dread, but it kind of loses some threads in there too, I think. We'll get that in a minute. The young cast, the kids of this season's loser-ish club, maybe, are all relatable. They're grounded. They're pretty good. You care when they're threatened, which is something that's vital for horror. There's Easter eggs all through this thing. There's myth tie-ins, because this is a prequel, so you get to dig deeper into Derry's underlying rot. The show nods to the books every 27-year cycle. We kind of get that right out of the gate. The sewers, the idea of universal suppressed town memories, all of that stuff. It's kind of like we're reminding you that this is the birth of evil in Derry. But then this episode is filled with some misdirections. You talk about subverting expectations. That's something I hate that gets thrown around so much, and a lot of it is a crutch for bad writing. But in this episode, it really does. And without giving away the whole thing, the creative team called this their own Red Wedding episode for the world of It. Do with that what you will. Tone-wise, you get both creeping dread and the odd juvenile edge to this thing. Kids messing around with each other, hormonal jokes, all that stuff, which is exactly King. It's his blend of childhood, horrors and coming of age stuff that he kind of thrives on. And it might be under supernatural horror, all that stuff, but the first episode could also succeed in a lot of parts as, awkward coming of age with some comedy elements. But the myth, the whole Stephen King universe tie-ins is something that's going to leave a lot of breadcrumbs for big King fans to follow and chew on. If you're a King aficionado, there's gold in this episode. There are Easter eggs all over the place. We've got mentions of the turtle. We got foreshadowing of the turtle that really is a big part in the It book that isn't in most of the movies. And then you get other things like Dick Halloran. Yes, the character from The Shining. He's in this episode. He's in the plot. And he's actually mentioned in the book It. So a lot of people don't know that King's outward universe is all tied together. If you read the Dark Tower series, you start to see how it is all tied together. So that kind of stuff is super cool. And the series itself is explicitly based on the interludes in the book It, which kind of form the foundation of that 27-year cycle, the cycle of evil for the whole book itself. So there are those little chain moments throughout Derry's history that are tucked between the chapters like barriers, very much like the Toadash space, the evil kind of dark space between realities that that Pennywise comes from. So these are kind of tucked in there. So you have things like references to the black spot, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to go back to where the Native Americans first encountered Pennywise and how they subverted the 27-year cycle and made it longer. So all those things are in the interlude, including like the massacre in the bar back in the when it was a logging town days, like I think in 1905 or something like that. You get a little off on the timeline because of the resetting of the timeline. But still, all of that is there. But there are some problems here. The pacing of the pilot feels like you are trying to cram 4 hours of story into 50 minutes. And it's lots to set up, lots of characters, lots of big things that happen in this episode. And it's all chunked into 50 minutes. And because of that, not all of it lands. There's almost too much spectacle and not enough substance. You don't have time to focus on really any one thing because it's jumping around. Because there's a whole subplot with the adults and more Easter egg threads, like with Mike Hanlon's, possibly that's his father, all this kind of stuff in this movie that is introduced, and it's just a lot. There's a secret military base, there's all this kind of stuff going on, and it's hard to focus and keep you invested. And then there are green screen issues, and I just wish people would stop with too much CGI. Listen, the ambition is big on that, and I appreciate it, but some of the visuals pulled me out of the horror moment. There is a CGI creature that just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. You can tell it's CGI. And I'm just not, I'm not a fan. There is no reason. Do something practically. Like, you don't have to do this because you're creating this not out of whole cloth because you're basing it on the interludes. But some of this stuff you definitely could do it practically and not over rely on CGI. There's some stuff in the beginning that instead of putting people in a real car, you can tell that they're using CGI to make it look like they're driving down the road. All that kind of stuff kind of pulls it out. And where the kids hang out, you can tell where the real set pieces are that they're standing on and talking. And then you can tell that the background that they're supposed to be looking at is totally green screen. Like it really is a hard line edge between them. And it for something with this kind of a budget, that's not really good. And it just kind of will suck you out of it. So, use sparingly. And then there's the problem, if you're familiar with the story, you could say some of this is rehashing, because if you've watched the 2017, 2019 films, or if you're a King fan in general, a lot of the beats are familiar, which is a good thing, but, you know, you've got missing kids, sewer systems, voices in drains, innocence lost, all that stuff. It's comforting, it's bringing us back there, and I like it. But you have all those classic beats, but spoiler alert here. If you don't want to know anything, then skip a few seconds. There's no Pennywise in this episode, which kind of stinks, especially considering some of the big things that happen. And then the whole adult military subplot, like I was talking about, you've got Leroy Hanlon, this Mike Hanlon's father, at the Derry Air Base. You've got some Cold War tensions and dynamics that are thrown in. Maybe they're investigating an alien over here. And that's another problem. It sets aside the kids' horror. You're jumping back and forth, all that. It makes the plot very divided. And I realize this is a series that's going on for 8 episodes, but this is the reason why we need to stop with 8-episode seasons. You give me 13 episodes at least, so you have time to set all of this up, instead of trying to cram it all into one 50-minute episode. Because when you see this, you're like, holy crap, we went from 0 to here by the end of this. Oh my goodness. And I've heard some reviewers keep talking about Pennywise like he's an alien. He's not an alien. He's not an alien. He's basically one of the triumvirate of hell, in so to speak, from the Todash space, which is not. He's not from outer space. This is the hell dimensions that separate realities. Okay, this is where you go and you're tortured if you don't get out. It's through the thin spots. He's not an alien. Okay, and I've heard too many big reviewers basically talk about him being an alien. He's not an alien. So they could maybe think he's an alien. He's not an alien. So no, the Todash space is the space between different realities. Okay, so he's not a alien. But then, you know, I'm down for all this. Dick Halloran is already using his shine in this episode. It doesn't touch on it, but that opens up the whole multiverse implications, which Stephen King does in all of his books. Father Callahan from Salem's Lot is in Dark Tower, for instance. These people are all over each other. You've got Flag from The Stand. He's in the Dark Tower and other things. You've got Pennywise. He's in here. They all work for the Crimson King, who's basically the devil. Okay, and these are his 2 other henchmen. That kind of thing. Start thinking of it like that. So there's all kinds of breadcrumbs to grab into in here. And I like that a lot because I like the whole mystery of it all. And, you know, like I said, it's based on the interludes of the book. So you get the black spot thing that happens, the Ironworks explosion, the Bradley Gang massacre is all going to be referenced and brought in this series. So the interludes tell the story backward, bringing it up to here, the every 27-year cycle, all that kind of stuff. I like the theme of the small town evil hiding underneath normality. That's pure King. That is definitely brought in here. And in the opening sequence, man, does that hit hard. The normal nuclear family that is not what it seems, all that kind of stuff. The town as the monster motif, all of that is beautifully done. Welcome to Derry gives us all of that. And that's some of the best parts of it, the subtle nods to the whole bigger universe and things that we're going to bring into it. So yes, if you're lore hungry, if you want to uncover the big mystery, the universe connected, there's a lot of meat here on the bone to chew on, and I really dig that. But here's how I see it as someone who loves this book and the original series and all of that. The episode delivered enough good stuff the setting, the dread, the references, the hope, the threads of what's to come. So I'm in. But I also felt like this was a warm-up lap that tried to cram too much stuff into it. So the pilot doesn't quite hit on all the levels. The visual polish, the cinematography and stuff is not to the level of the 2017-2019 movie. The CGI is not good. The green screen stuff in some scenes is just glaringly apparent. But I would rather have this than a lifeless perfect start that plays it safe, or just some other, soulless algorithm generated crap on Netflix or whatever else. So I'll be watching for how the subplot threads expand, how the interludes are told, how the bigger universe is brought in, and whether or not the visuals tighten up, and if they move away from just so much CGI. And of course, spoiler alert here, give me a couple seconds if you don't want to know this, but I will be looking for Pennywise. Hello, we got to have Pennywise in here for sure. But I hope the lore pays off rather than just being fan service nods, because I love that they brought Dick Halloran in. I know that we're going to the Black Spot. We're going to have the Ironworks. We're going to go back further. I hope all of that stuff, pays off and it's beyond cameos. So welcome to Derry. Episode 1 is a worthy horror ride. It rattles some pipes. It sets the stage. It gives us some new kids and some new things to worry about, and some shocking moments that let you know that plot armor may not save everyone in this series, which is cool. And it gives you a town that's already breathing and generating that fear and evil that lives right beneath the surface. And I love that. So if you're a horror fan, if you're a Stephen King aficionado, or you just love good small town supernatural horror with a mystery, I think this one will make you float. But if you're expecting a flawless masterpiece that has everything and some brand new territory out of the gate, this is not for you. And that's what I got for you this time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe. That helps out the channel. Let me know. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? Are you in for this series? Let me know. And if you want to hang around, you can support the channel with my Patreon link below. And you'll get your name and lights on every video, behind the scenes, special videos, all that kind of stuff. And I guess until next time, be kind, rewind like always, and I'll see you in the sewers. Bye-bye. I know.